Yeah. Young man, always surfing, no waves.
All right, well, hey kids, welcome to Thursday's edition of the Daily Snack. We brought some friends with us this week. I've got Yari with us. I've got Cheryl with us. These guys miss you. We don't get to see you very often, so we all miss you. We can't wait to see you again as COVID, I don't know, decides to get up out of here someday. Someday it will. It's moving now. So we wanted to talk through some of what we've been talking about this week. Our main point is key to extreme living, and that is disciples of Jesus respect authority, which is kind of a weird point. It doesn't sound real extreme, and it sounds confusing. It's difficult to know what authority is, what it means to respect it. And so Yari and Cheryl and I are going to talk about that and see if we can help you understand how extreme this is and what we should do with it. So I've got a whole bunch of questions that I'm going to pepper them with. Yari, Cheryl, you ready to answer some questions?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. So let's start with this. Disciples of Jesus respect authority. What is authority? What does that even mean?
You want to go first? Cheryl?
Well, respecting it, you said, what does that mean? To respect authority means to understand why that person is in a position to either protect you, lead you, guide you, and you should take heed in everything that they say. You should listen to what they tell you to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like what you said, that they're in a position to, it was guide you, protect you, help you. Those people in authority, they're not just bosses who are just bossing you around. They're there to actually do all those things for you. That's a really good thought. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Who are some of those authorities in our lives? Who are in those positions?
Yeah, I think, like government can be authority. Our parents, of course, maybe grandparents, teachers, pastors, policemen, firefighters.
Yeah, your small group leaders. When we get back to church, your small group leaders like Yari and Cheryl, they're in authority over you for a while too. Like when they say like, hey, it's time to stop talking, man, y'all should listen to them and respect them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes.
So I was thinking, so today we're recording this on Wednesday, which was Inauguration Day. So we saw all the pageantry and all that kind of stuff as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were sworn in as president, vice president. It made me think that, so there was a president and vice president before, and they left office, and about half the country really liked them. And then we had new people sworn in today, and about half the country really likes them. So we don't always like the people in authority. But the Bible says that these people who are in authority are actually placed in our lives for our good. And Cheryl, you hit some of those good things earlier. They're there to protect us. They're there to guide us. They're there to keep us safe. And I wrote down they provide some order in life so that things aren't just like chaos all the time. So first of all, maybe the question is, those people in authority who are doing all those things, do you think we're always going to like the things that they're telling us to do?
No, we may not always like the things that they tell us to do, but out of respect, as long as what they're telling us to do is not hurting other people and you're not hurting yourself, then you should do what they tell you to do, even if you don't necessarily like it or agree with it. You got to remember that they're telling you to do something for a purpose, and the purpose is to keep you safe. Like we said earlier, there's different reasons why they're telling you to do something. But as a child, you should listen to people who are in a position of authority, as long as they're telling you to do something that's not against the Bible or that's going to hurt someone or hurt yourself.
Yeah, we're all parents, and so we all tell our kids to do things, and I know my kids do not always like the things that I tell them to do, but I do always have a reason for it, which gets me to my next question. Like when someone in authority tells us to do something, is it okay to ask why they're doing it? Is it okay to question authority at all?
Yes, I think it's good. We have brains. We can ask questions. Maybe we don't know what's the purpose, what's the reason behind it. So I think it's always good to have questions and ask why this happened, or why I should do that, or so. But I think that the way you do the question is also, you have to do it in a respectful way.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're all parents. Do our kids ask us questions? Yes. Do they ever ask us for questions disrespectfully? Yeah, at least mine do. So what's the difference between kind of a respectful way to ask a question and a disrespectful way to ask a question?
Well, I think it has to do with why you're asking the question. Are you asking the question because you don't want to do what you're being told to do? Or are you asking the question to get more information so that you understand how to do what you're being told to do?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think anytime you get that kind of whiny tinge to your voice, that starts to go into the land of disrespect. When someone says take the trash out and you go, why? Yeah. Stomping, also a sign of disrespect, kids. Any kind of loud foot movements as you're moving to the object you're supposed to do, definitely a sign of disrespect.
Or rolling your eyes too, as well.
Rolling your eyes. Yeah.
Or throwing the head back. Oh!
Now we're getting into it. I like this. All right, so we might not always like the thing that authority tells us to do. We might want to ask some follow-up questions so we understand it better. Will people in authority always get it right? Will they always tell us the right thing to do? We're all parents, and we know that we're opening up a can of worms right here.
I know, right?
Yeah. No, I think people sometimes they do mistakes, right? And they're not always right. So of course, some people with authority may ask wrong things for us to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking back when I was in school, man, I used to sit next to a kid who was constantly doing goofy things, shooting spit wads across the class and talking when he wasn't supposed to talk. And sometimes the teacher would look back and think it was me, who was a perfect angel. And I would wind up getting in trouble for it. The teacher wasn't right to blame me for something I didn't do. She got it wrong. But in those situations, I still had to be respectful to that teacher because she was the authority. And it, if the guy next to me was being a knucklehead, I mean, I could point at him and say, he did it. But ultimately, I still had to respect that authority and say, you know what, she's human. She got it wrong. So.
Right. And sometimes, being parents, sometimes we do get it wrong. And it's okay to come back to us and have a conversation about it. As long as you're respectful, you sit down and you talk about it with your parent. So even if you're being blamed for something, it's not your fault, and they're telling you to go to your room, go do this or go do that, and you're like, I didn't even do anything. You do it, and then you come back and you have a conversation and just see how and just trust the process.
That's right. Man, if I had a nickel for every time I heard the phrase, I didn't do anything, I'd have a lot of nickels. All right, so ultimately we talked about sometimes we like leaders or we don't like leaders. Sometimes we don't like the things they're telling us to do. Sometimes even our leaders get it wrong. But ultimately, we need to respect the people in authority over us, and we need to obey the things that they tell us to do. Is there ever a time not to? Is there ever a time when we should say, no, I shouldn't follow this thing that they're telling me to do?
Yes, but like Cheryl said earlier, if it's something that is against what the Bible said, what God says, of course, we don't want to do that because we want to be obedient to authority, but we have to be obedient first and foremost to God's authority.
Right.
Yeah, he's the ultimate authority, right? He's the one we're really trying to please. He's the one who we worship, so he's number one in our lives. And he's the one who ultimately is the one who is gonna, he's the one in charge. So the example I gave the kids earlier this week was a funny one. Is if your mom ever tells you to pocket a packet of M&Ms at the store and steal it and eat it later, that's one that might be tempting, but that we should say no. That God doesn't want us to steal. We shouldn't do that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the whole thing about authority is a little bit tricky, but I think this is a pretty extreme way to live because I think most people in our world kind of tell us like, well, you got to look out for you, and it's really about what you want and what your feelings are. And so if someone tells you to do something, but you're not really feeling it, then it's okay just to tell them no, or they're not a nice person, or they don't ask you nicely, then you shouldn't have to respect them. If they don't respect you, you don't respect them, and that kind of thing. But I don't know. As I read the Bible, that's not what I see. I see we're supposed to respect authority. Is that kind of? I mean, you guys have read the Bible a whole lot, and is that kind of what you're seeing? Is you respect authority even if they're not always, even if they don't have it right, even if they're maybe not super nice to you, you still respect it, right?
Yeah, because it's not always about you, it's about others, right? And we as Christians, is usually important for us that we are here to serve others, and through how we show kindness to others and how we treat others is really how we preach about God's love. So it's not always about how I feel or how in a certain situation. It's about others too.
Yeah, that's a great point. People see who God is based on how we act and how we live. And so when we're respectful and kind and show love to others, people get a little bit of glimpse of who God is. That's a good point, Yari. And I think that kind of brings us to the end to our conversation about this real key to extreme living. Disciples of Jesus respect authority. So any final words, Yari, Cheryl?
Yeah, children, listen to your parents. Just want to put that out there.
Amen. All right. I think that's it. So, hey, thanks for hanging out in the Daily Snack with us. Make sure you tune in tomorrow because we are heading to Club Dance. I have a brand new theme for us. I think you're going to love it. And I can't wait to worship alongside tomorrow. So until then, I'll see you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Young man, always surfing, no waves. I do it for the kids.
All for the youngest. Young man, always surfing, no waves. I do it for the kids.
They wanna know who I do it for. I do it all, I do it all, I do it for the kids.
They wanna know who I do it for.